Good morning and welcome to Business News for the Average Person. Again, my name is Nicholas. It's the morning of November 15th, 2021, Monday. So let's get to the news. CNN reports, press pause on international travel plans for now. It is cautioning that the places that have opened up for international travel to the US, mostly countries from Europe, are now seeing an increase in COVID-19 cases. There's a surge. So just be careful if you are going to have to travel and want to travel. So be extremely careful there, and we should expect that as this travel resumes, cases should go up. And again, like I said the last time, I expect that the authorities believe COVID is going to be endemic, meaning it is going to be with us. Much like the flu, unfortunately, and policies are going to start moving toward that expectation. Okay, so things will probably generally open up with precautions, and as countries start moving more and more to normal, quote unquote. Alrighty. So next piece of news here is Americans haven't felt this bad about the economy in a decade because of surging prices, labor shortage. You know what? This is reminiscent in some ways of the stagflation in the 70s, where there was an external shock by way of oil prices suddenly going up, and you know a lot of issues with supply chain issues. Yeah, so I do want to talk about this more in another article. Okay. But more on that here later. So it says here the win that nobody noticed, Bidenomics. That's weird to hear that phrase. First time I've heard that. So we talked about this. Biden passed an infrastructure bill. You can expect the economy to record growth as the government spends more money. It's going to employ people, and then the services that support the people that are employed, either directly or indirectly via contractors, right? So, this is what I was referring to, where inflation is and isn't. 12-month change in the price of gas, rental cars, blah blah blah. So it's not surprising to me that gas have increased almost 50% over the last 12 months because gas oil prices were in the negative a year and a half ago because everything shut down, right? Not surprisingly, because we've heard about this, rental cars, used vehicles, hotel rooms, transportation, all these have gone up in prices, right? Because of shortage of supply chains and computer chips. This does mean, by the way, that travel and tourism and I mentioned this in the previous session, are moving back toward normal. So if you work in these industries, or if you are planning to drive Uber, this is or Lyft, rideshare in general, this is a very good time because people are not going to be able to buy cars. They're going to have to continue relying on it for going to and from work, right? And as well as for the holiday travel. Okay. Blah blah blah. Food at home. Yada 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 yada. What does surprise me is airfare has gone down minus 4.6%. Yeah, it's very surprising, given the shortage in labor and all the overtime that the airlines are paying. right? Overall inflation is at 6.2%. So inflation again generally is rise in prices across all categories. So yeah, 6.2% is the highest it's been in decades. And again, the government keeps saying that they don't expect it to be there for the long term. It's just because of supply shocks. We will see if that is true. And what I would say to this is you put your money where your mouth is, right? If the Fed increases rates, interest rates, then that is an indication that things have changed or they don't they're not practicing what they're preaching. The key thing here is that the consumer confidence index, consumers are not feeling very confident about the economy, and this may cause issues as people cut down on spending. And but the infrastructure bill, the 1.2 trillion dollars, you know should hopefully prop things up and hopefully not make inflation worse. All right. And why you can't find the biggest brands in at TJ Maxx right now and a lot of discount stores, well, the mainstream stores are not finding enough things to sell, so it's not surprising that they're not selling unsaleable stuff to the discount stores, right? More evidence of shortages. Okay. Here I want to talk about something else. Macy's CEO. Okay. All right. So Macy's forecast digital sales will hit $10 billion about 2 years from now, up from 7.6 billion last year. The article goes on to say that, as Macy's continues to grow, it would be hiring executives from places like Amazon, because online sales is going to be a bigger and bigger thing. That would be very interesting to watch. I'm surprised that Macy's do this. To be very honest with you, and now Toyota is accelerating vehicle production, induced parts shortages ease. So this is good news for people in the market, right? Toyota is the first one to come out and say that they have overcome the shortage. Other major vehicle makers have not. You know, this article supports the same. Interestingly, it does mention that Toyota is not the world's largest automaker for nothing, right? So they seem to have figured it out. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, and they're just saying this for the investors. Who knows? We shall see. American families are more in debt than ever before, totaling 15.24 trillion, as you can expect. A lot of credit card spending, again due to inflation, right? Things getting more expensive, therefore you spend more. At the same time, it does indicate that there is pent-up demand. So if you can hold off on spending on consumer durables and or travel, durables being things like furniture, refrigerators, appliances, that sort of stuff, might be a good time to hold off. Okay. Sales of pregnancy tests on the rise because of the baby boom. Because people were stuck at home last year, they had nothing to do, so a lot of love making, a lot of babies. So yeah, so that's good for places that are selling baby stuff, including Walmart, Target. It does mean that about 18 years from now, you may see an intense competition for college places. All right, FAA proposes 225,000 in fines against unruly passengers, blah blah blah, That's a very hefty fine. And what I would say to that is good for them to try to keep order in the skies, banning people from traveling if they behave like that. Does indicate to me that people are getting less tolerant of these behaviors. Okay. Now, Elon Musk sells Tesla stock. I don't know. Like I said in a previous story, I cannot figure out this guy. He's eccentric, so to speak. And so, what you might see, I don't know. Is he selling this as a publicity stunt? Is he selling this because he expects the stock market to crash, bringing down the Tesla stock price with it? Or is he selling because of what's going on in the larger auto industry or perhaps more specifically, what's going on with Tesla? Um, Remains to be seen. Now, these next three stories I want to share are very interesting. So, last week, GE announced that it was going to split into three companies, and then you know what happened was that the stock price rose shortly after Johnson and Johnson said it was going to split. Same thing, stock price went up. Toshiba, which you hardly see in the news nowadays, is going to be doing the same. So I wonder if more companies are going to start doing so and causing again a general rise in the stock market. If you already invested, that's great. Otherwise, no need to jump into investing all these companies. Okay, race to save Christmas, yada yada. You can read more about it. This is on NPR. Um, yeah, Biden has reportedly spoken with the CEOs of major retailers to try to ease these shortages. Again, if you haven't already shopped, you need to be doing so now. My suggestion is buy gift cards for Christmas. That way, people can buy whatever they want whenever they want, and we won't risk having your Christmas presents arrive late. Over here, Malaysia to reopen it to international visitors by January 1st, 2022. I think a lot of other countries are going to follow suit, like what the US does. This is a picture of the Twin Petronas Towers in Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital of Malaysia. They were the tallest buildings in the world for a few years in the 90s, I believe. Anyway, so yeah, I should expect more and more countries to do that. Well, again, indicating to me that governments around the world expect COVID to be endemic, meaning we're gonna have to learn to live with it. Okay, Fed warns Chinese property implosion could roil U.S. economy. If you haven't already heard, the Evergrande Group in China has went bust. There's a lot of news about it since October. You can go read more about it, but what it is saying is that because the Chinese economy is so interlinked with the U.S. economy and a lot of U.S. Investment funds are invested in China that may cause an issue. So far, we haven't seen any ripple effects yet, but that's because the Chinese authorities are still figuring out what's going on with Evergrande and how much of a trouble they're in. So if you are actively deciding what regions of the world that investments, your retirement funds are invested in, maybe it might be a good time to look into doing more research about pulling out of China. All right. COVID booster get Colorado COVID booster shots get green light from the governor. So because of the high transmission rates in Colorado, the governor is going to allow everyone above the age of 18 to start getting booster shots. Not just the vulnerable ones, like those older than 65 or high risk by nature of underlying health issues or professions. So, uh, I would be curious to see what other states would start doing. I would expect other states to perhaps start doing the same if things don't ease up. Okay, booster shots are working. Rich countries want to turbocharge their rollout. It's just saying that, yeah, Western nations are going to start uh, pushing booster shots again in an effort to start treating COVID as endemic. Federal judge allows Texas schools to require masks. It's fighting between the executive and the judiciary. It's going to keep going on. So and of course, with the way the legal system works, there's precedents, right? And when you have rulings, so other states might start following suit. Uh, Something to note. Only 28% of New York office workers are back in the office. This is New York City, right? Only 28%. Not surprisingly, a lot of their work could be done remotely relatively easily. A lot of finance and legal, advertising stuff, creative industries. So, with New York being the financial center of the country and even the world, I don't expect that to change in a lot of the other mid-sized cities and metro areas across the country. So, if you are working from home, yeah, you can probably expect to continue doing so for the next 6 to 12 months, is my guess. Okay, record number of Americans quit the job in September. Again, this is old news, right? Yeah. So it does say what I wanted to bring up is the nation, by as of September, nation was still short 4.7 million jobs, right? So what this indicates to me is that people are choo choosing very carefully what they will take and what they will not. Okay. All right. Judge rules United Airlines can mandate vaccine. So what this means is that yeah, if you work for a large employer, I think you can expect them to continue to mandate vaccines, especially in customer-facing roles. So something for you to keep in mind if you're not vaccinated, and if you are, it should start getting safer to go back to work, hopefully. Women warn working from home may harm their careers, right? A lot of this is because of childcare issues facing women, because women tend to be overwhelmingly the primary caregiver. So if you are a primary caregiver, male or female, just something to look out for. And partners of primary caregivers, definitely step up. All right. Okay, inflation, blah, blah, blah. We talked enough about that. Okay. A lot of people are disapproving of the way Biden is handling the economy. This will be very interesting to see what will happen in in the midterm elections next year. All right. Okay. U.S. dollar rises as inflation. This is behind a paywall, so I can't access it. But again, when you have a higher inflation, um, usually the US is different in that regard because the US dollar is used for trading in so many commodities, oil, soybeans, natural gas, a lot of stuff. So as inflation rises across the world because of supply chain issues, what's going on is that people are putting their money into the US dollar as a safe haven. In most countries, if you have higher inflation, that is not how that works. So, again, a sign of how the US dominates the world economy and continues to do so, and probably likely will continue to do so. Okay. Tax bracket will change. Okay. It's just gonna go up. So meaning say if you make more money, you can expect. because of inflation. You may pay the same amount of taxes depending on how much it went up. One thing to note is that these are tax thresholds, not flat taxes. Okay, so these are brackets. All right, so good for the government to take inflation into consideration. Standard deduction is also increasing, yada yada. So standard deduction being the first, you know, 12,000 ish to almost $13,000 for individuals that you earn that you do not have to pay taxes on in general. Okay, so that's great news. Also, a recognition that prices have gone up in 2021 when you file taxes in 2022. Okay, why US inflation is so high? Again, we keep talking about it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what should policymakers do? Okay, again, you can expect. Right now, the Fed is telling people that the inflation is transitory. I'm sorry, meaning it's temporary because of supply chain issues. People are starting to say, hey, it seems to be a long-term trend. The Fed may raise rates as a result of that to try and keep that in. Yeah, I'm not sure keeping interest rates or raising interest rates will help inflation in this case because the issue is not about, it's not caused by cheap money. It's caused by supply shocks. If you keep rates high, it discourages investment, and these investments are very much needed for businesses to deal with supply chain issues, right? You need to pay more, or you need to take out credit in order to pay your supplies in advance. So, yeah, I think that would be a dumb idea, and I hope the Fed realizes that. Okay, Uber. Government is suing Uber, saying that wait fees discriminate against disabled people. What's going on is that there's a lawsuit. Disabled people are paying for quote unquote wait time because they needed extra time to get in the car. And if you have taken Uber before, you know that if you make the driver wait past a reasonable amount of time, you have to pay for the wait time because, yeah, right? So the US government is saying, hey, this is discriminatory. So if you're driving Uber, just be aware. I don't know how they can resolve this. Yeah, I mean, the driver needs to be paid if people are taking more time, but at the same time, there are ADA laws, American with Disabilities Act. So yeah, Uber might need to pay its drivers more as a result of having riders indicate that they're disabled and will need more time to get into and out of the vehicle. May eat into their profits, but hey, um, that's the right thing to do, but not a good thing to do for Uber. Okay, American Airlines reject 50% bonus pay to avert shortages. So what is going on is, yeah, the union has rejected pay increases to work more during the holidays. So yeah, definitely expect more flight delays and increases. So again, if you can avoid traveling this holiday season, I highly recommend it. It's so stressful during normal times, right? But I get it. People miss their families. Yeah. Okay. North American companies rush at robots. Yeah. I was watching a video on this food court in Singapore doing fried rice with robots. Yeah, because of labor shortages, right? Labor getting more expensive, etc. Not just a US problem. So you can expect if you haven't already gotten and or demanded a pay raise at your current job, yeah, do so already. I would expect as employers invest more in robots and automation and technology to reduce the reliance on labor to increase productivity, Those with jobs will see their pay continue to rise as you, so long as you continue to learn new skills and evolve with the requirements of your job, right? To use these technologies is going to hurt uneducated and perhaps older workers more. That's just the nature of the job market, unfortunately. So definitely keep yourself up to speed with the use of technology. All right. And workers' rights may, in the longer term, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years from now, erode as they were prior to the pandemic, this crazy shortage of labor. Okay, this one supports that. Another article saying more robots. So this one is talking about how when fast food chains are using more technology. Okay, boosting wages, etc. What I have seen on a macroeconomic level is that this is a great time for unskilled labor to get into or get back into the workforce. McDonald's paying 15, 16, $17 an hour with sign-up bonuses. Younger workers getting put into management roles, which were previously reserved for more experienced workers. People with jobs are switching jobs. What I have noticed also is if you just graduated college, unfortunately, you're not looking for minimum wage jobs that hire mostly high school graduates, yet you don't have the work experience necessary to hunt for a quote unquote better job. So you're caught in between a rock and a hard place. This is a difficult time for a lot of fresh college grads without quote unquote real working experience. So definitely seek out resources and networks to help you out there. And I will wrap today's session with, this piece of news here. Google loses an antitrust appeal, the EU. Okay. Yeah. Generally, the EU has stricter antitrust and privacy laws than US. I don't expect these changes to hit American users. However, that said, you know, this is all our economies are so intertwined. You will start seeing Google um, perhaps rolling out some measures to avoid such a lawsuit in the US because, they may not want to give ideas to the US Justice Department, right? So it's better to be proactive than to be reactive. Okay, and that wraps up our session here. Please consider subscribing and liking my videos. Let me know in the comments what you would like me to talk more about. Um, yeah, thank you so much.